What's going on, Skin Club community? James Banks here, and off the back of just announcing my partnership with the guys at Skin Club, I'm producing my first bit of content for them as well, and this is the first of many different pieces that'll be coming your way, some written, some on video, some where maybe we just answer some of your questions as well. But a question I've been getting a lot is around some of the roster moves we've seen going into the second part of the 2024 season. Obviously, everyone focusing and getting ready for the Shanghai Major, people trying to make roster changes to improve and get where they are. So I thought the best way to do this and the best way to explain it was to make a tier list and explain to you my thoughts on the tier list and some of the moves, some of the biggest teams that we have in Counter-Strike right now. So let's see what happens. So the first team I wanted to look at here and position was Into the Breach. Into the Breach is a team that have had a lot of up and downs. They obviously had one very good successful major when it came to the Paris majors. They went further than people would have expected. It was a great moment for some of the players on it. Then they brought back some of the old players that were on the roster so they could qualify again for the major and be in a better position for the RMRs. And it didn't go so well. So it was previously BMAS, Thomas, Rallan, Masuta, and Crucial. All of them have gone. Rallan's still on the bench. And now, with Smooya, of all people, they've built themselves a new roster. Now, what I'll say with this is I do like Smooya, and I think that this is a great way for him to build a project and build successful projects with players he knows and hopefully have some success. He spoke quite openly and publicly about not being able to show exactly his best level and some of the reasons why, but he is a player who can grind. He's even said he's taking a lesser salary as well in order to get some better players for the ITB organization. And we'll look at what they've got. So Smooya, first of all, we know he can perform. We know he can do well, ignoring his controversial side and what he is as a character. As a player, he can deliver. And he's been playing so much CS2. He was even the number one facing player for a little while as well. I know it was at the beginning. Then we come on to Synopsihiats from the old Bad News Eagles, Guild Eagles, whatever you want to call them. And then Flatro as well. Now, Synopsy and IGL, a good mind. He's also worked with Flatro. I'm sure these guys have played a lot of faces together as well. So this is a core three to start off with. This is quite nice. Flatro, heavy, aggressive player. Not the best util player, just look down the stats. But a player who will frag, brings a lot of hype, great for the LAN environment as well. And then we come to the final two pieces, which I still have some question marks on. Kios and Boros. Now, Boros, I think he was unfairly removed from Falcons early on. He didn't fit into whatever the vision was of that Falcons team at the time. We saw the clips and stuff that come out. Bit of a rough one for sure. But I would say then, looking at what Boros can deliver, if you get him with the right people, he can thrive and succeed. Do I think this team is going to be the right people to see him thrive and succeed? Not too sure, really. Even the coach Juvie is not like a super older player, older coach who can mentor him a bit. If you want to get the best out of Boros, we need to see him kind of micromanaged and formed a little bit further as well. Now, Kios, previously on GamerLegion, ended up getting the boot, I think, just before we started the season last year. An interesting player that he once played in the CIS region, but he's never had huge amounts of success. Obviously, was with GamerLegion on their massive run they had with Shuhei in order to make it to the finals. But I feel like this is kind of... So we've got some really positive pieces of ICB and then some like, it's okay. So in terms of remember, I'm giving this like S, A, B, C, D tier on the moves they've made. So from where they were to the players they've brought in, this is big movements. This I'll happily put in an A tier movement because the team they had before was probably D or F tier, and I've not even got an F tier in here, but I'll just be honest, that was not a great look for him. Now, the next one, as we're sticking with the old Guild Eagles and Bad News Eagles players, is Big Clan. Big Clan have not really gone anywhere throughout all the roster changes they've been making. They've had academy players come in. They've gone back to full German. We see them try to find some success. They've struggled consistently. At some points, I thought maybe even Tabson might leave the team, but he's not. He's going to stay committed. JDC coming in. I met him at Dallas. First of all, JDC, if you remember, he was back on the Mouse NXT roster and the main Mouse roster. I think, yes, Mouse are having a lot of success. But it just goes to talk about the caliber of player he is, that he was on that Mouse NXT roster. He understands to play at this level. And when he comes into big, he is a second voice. I did an interview with him, and he was talking about how much he is helping out in the comms and the calling and taking off some of the pressures and stress because of his positions on the map that Tabson has. So this is a great help. So overall, okay, how do you make this roster better? Well, Prosos, he's out. Last 6 months for the team, 0.99 rating. He is one that came from the academy roster. I'll be honest, met him many times, worked him in the We Play Academy League. Good player, but was he a wow factor? Not so much. And guess who just came on the market? Rigon. Now, I know this from personal experience. Rigon was wanted by Big many times. They came and said, I want him. German speaking as well, obviously he comes from Switzerland. This player also brings so much hype and so much energy. If I think of some of the players, maybe JDC is quite a loud one. Tabson can be at times, but Godby's no longer there. It's a bit of a quieter team in terms of who's bringing the hype, upping the mood. Rigon, someone that can do that. And Rigon, in the meantime, 1.08 rating throughout this year so far. Very strong individual player, mechanically gifted as well. This is his time on a full tier 1 team that's part of partner leagues and stuff like that. So if I'm going to look at like a 1-to-1 move of pieces for Big, this is an S tier move because you've got a significant upgrade and you've stuck with all the pieces you want to do. You've stuck with your same language. You're not allowed to make too much sacrifice in this as well. Now, one that I'm very still up in the air of where I want to put it. Furia. Art went a long time ago. They brought in some academy player. Poor kid just spent his life being attacked and abused in many games. Like he was not ready for this level. And Furia just waiting and waiting. Then Liquid say, Skulls, we don't want you anymore. They also didn't want Zeus. Cadian's gone at the same time. And Furia said, yo, come now. And yes, Skulls is a good player. We didn't see the best form out of him, but we saw some moments and some glimpses of individual brilliance from Skulls. And having him on Furia, I think this can work out really well. But I'm not going to put this on an S or an A tier move because this is like still, it's a B tier move for me. Because it's a very solid move. It's a stable move. But it's like, you are Furia. You are the best team in the Americas region. You should be attracting some of the best players. You've not been able to do that consistently. You got a little bit lucky here that Skulls went away from Liquid. While we're talking about that, though, let's talk about Liquid in some more detail. But we'll go from Furia to Liquid. It seems like a nice mix in here. Now, if I was talking about one move on Liquid, let's just start with this. They add JKS. Maybe the best anchor in the world. Should he have ever gone away from G2? We just learned in a recent interview and the hooks he put out there that the only reason JKS was removed is because they thought Nico was going to leave the Falcons. So then they made an abrupt decision to change him out. Remember, this is from Hooksy's interview. It was posted on Reddit. It was a Danish interview that he'd done. And all of a sudden we get to say, okay, now why JKS went, we can start to see makes a bit more sense. They want to do a bigger change here of how they want to the direction of the G2 team to go. But that's still a huge loss for the team, for sure. And then I go, okay, Liquid right now. Okay, from here, we're going to NRG. Now, this one, it kind of makes me sad. And I know a lot of people defend this on the move that NRG wanted to make because of the players on the team right now. But Welco was an IGL that has given so much to NA. He has been there trying to grind his way up. He had a pretty good roster around him. I like him as an IGL. But then Nitro decides he's going to come back from Valorant again. Liquid obviously didn't make sense for him to go there. I think that didn't work out last time, so why would he go back? M80 also didn't want him. So he falls on NRG with some players he certainly does know. Now, Nick is a great leader. He's a leader of people. He has had so much success. But you already left Counter-Strike to Valorant and then came back to CS and then went back to Valorant. And now you're doing it again. I don't know why. I don't know what the hell's going on, but that worries me. And then Welco, he is unproven on a top level for sure. And everyone will look at this as like, if you just do side-by-side comparison, yes, Nitro is the better IGL of what he can offer, what he's done, everything like that. But I'm talking for the future, that this could be a bad move. We don't know if Nitro maybe then gets bored of CS in a year and says, actually, no, you know what? I'm not doing it again. I'm going back to Valorant. Or maybe he retires. It's like, and then if you're Welco, you just sat there, you've been screwed over. They could have lost out. Another team might take advantage of being able to get a player like Welco. Obviously, I don't really know the personal side of things with Welco and how good the players he is in terms of relationship with players. It's not a player I've had much time with. I think I had one event with him, of doing interviews and talking to him, maybe two. But I would say that this is a C tier move. Not the greatest move. Not one that I'm a big fan of, just because of the whole Nitro going back and forth between games, not making his decision, and they may be missing out on something special with Welco here. Cloud9, we have been waiting for this team to do something. You lose Electronic, you lose Perfecto. Before that, you lost Shiro. You said you didn't need an AWPer. We had a whole confusing run where you almost did okay at Major, you almost did okay at different events. Then some events you completely bombed out on. It was borderline embarrassing at times. And then you have only Boomich and Axile left. Now, Boomich right now, he's on his whole life change moment. Had his horrible social media incident come out into the world, you know, what happened after his Na'Vi times. I'm not going to touch much on that. And then he comes back, grinds his way back up from the lower levels of CS, gets on Cloud9, and he is a leader. He is a great leader. He knows how he wants to play CS. He knows what he can do. He knows how to get the best out of his pieces. I also think he's a pretty good scout of looking at some players, considering what he did on his previous rosters after Na'Vi as well, you know, and find some of these young players. What, though, we've got here is Inters comes back. If you don't remember Inters, he was actually on the Gambit roster. He was even on Cloud9 when they won the Dallas, and then they removed him. After that, he's really pretty inactive. He joined the TSM project for a little while, the first TSM project, which was a complete flop, complete failure. It was English speaking for him as well, but he does speak good English, I would say. I've done interviews with him. I've seen him in the gym, spent time with him. I like him. So he's a nice player to slot in there. He's one that Axile knows, but he's been away for a while. That doesn't get me so hyped, you know. We haven't even seen him play this year. But the next two moves, this is where we're talking big pickups. An AWPer. Icy. This guy came from Amcal, and I saw them at the major. When he was on, and he delivered. I will say what I saw is maybe at times he's not the most confident player, maybe he has some confidence issues, but he can be a dominant player. 1.15 rating this year so far. When I've been looking back at the past 6 months of his stats in there, he is from Kazakhstan. He has a good focus on the game, and under Boomich, I think he can thrive, and I think he can do very well. I'd like to maybe see him take some more fights and be a bit more confident at times, but we're going to see that now in an ultimate test against a tougher opposition. I only got to really see him when it came to the RMRs going into the major itself, but I will say that, like, Icy is a player that is one that has a shot at being good. Not going to be, just at the moment, he doesn't show me as like one of the greats, but let's see what he can do in tier 1. But this is a great move. And then this one, I had to fact check all of this. Heavy God, 1.14 rating, nothing too special, but he was playing on OG. He was their best player. OG has spent their time just being destroyed. In most events in general, they've not had a good year. I don't know what was going on with OG, but he has Ukrainian descent in him. Speaks Russian as well, so he'll be able to talk the same language as his new teammates. This I did not expect at all, considering he's from Israel. And I will say, as someone I've met, super happy, super bubbly personality, very talkative, very friendly, very positive. This is a good bit of energy he can bring to this team, because Axile's quite quiet, Boomich is quite loud, but you've lost that voice of Electronic as well. I can't talk too much on Icy, but I remember Inters was not the most loud, hype person in there. So if you've got Heavy God and Boomich being the loud out there ones, this could be really nice. So comparing it to the previous Cloud9 roster, you're going to say, oh, this is like a bit of a downgrade for sure. But if I'm talking about a roster move they can make and the players they've got and these pieces they've picked up, Icy and Heavy God are pretty damn good. And I'm throwing it up in A tier as well. I'm actually pretty hyped for that. I actually think there could be some good success found here for these guys. Now, next one we're going to come on to, and this is like an interesting one for me, because Monte, Waro, the captain, been on the team for a long time, Ukrainian guy, brought them on a journey that no one expected this organization to go on. 1.15 rating over the last 6 months, but it's been a rough time from looking at that Katowice that was so disappointing for the team. Major failures as well. Monte have not been able to rebuild successfully. And he was the captain in AWPer, and I guess they thought, okay, enough is enough. We've tried our best. And when we tried our best, guess what we got? We then added Hades and Diha, both coming from ENCE. Hades, remember, was a very talented AWPer at times. It's interesting. Waro, to me, being captain in IGL, performed very well in terms of his stats. Hades will not be IGLing, right? And I assume Stiko will be the IGL of the new Monte. We'll have to wait and see at first events. And Diha coming in, Haji was members on trial, didn't pass the trial. They took Diha as well. Diha, when he left ENCE, was on his way down, not playing so well. Then eventually gets removed after obviously being under leadership of Snappy the whole time. So things changed massively. Diha is a bit of a risky pick. This is where I'm like, I like Diha, but I like the old Diha. On CS2, Diha's not been the same level of player. And Hades, at times, he's either up here or here. There's the middle ground doesn't really hit. Sometimes I see some games from him and it's maybe the mentality, maybe it's confidence, but he doesn't show up to the levels I know he can deliver at. And this is one where I think it's going to take a lot of time before we can see what they can do. A side note, they also added Norrot, who was previously on 9, the Polish side, that did very well. He was the coach. He's going to be the assistant coach helping out LMBT. Remember, there's some events that LMBT have not been able to go to because of the war between Ukraine and Russia. So he's not been able to leave the country. He has to get special permission. So I think this is a good way of having many pieces. But Monte is still putting a lot into this. They're still trying to make this work. So you've got Stiko, DemQQ, Krasnau, Hades, and Diha. That's making them a full Polish roster in terms of the flag. 3 players from Poland. I'll give them a chance. But I think this is an upgrade from what they've had and what they've been able to play with. So I'm going to put them in B tier alongside Furia. 2 more roster moves to go here. And there's a couple of ways to look at this, probably the most interesting ones for all of you guys at home. So the final 2 roster moves here to look at, and where I'm going to put it, they're quite intertwined. Let's start with G2 Esports. Everyone has been coming in my stream. Everyone has been tweeting about it. Everyone has been talking about it. Everyone wants to know what the hell they think of this move. Now let's get this out of the way with Nexa. Wasn't really an anchor, had to try and do his best with that situation. Replacing JKS was not going to be easy. He was under heavy criticism. He ended on this year, last 6 months, 0.98 rating, and did lift his first ever trophy after being second place so many times at IM events. So at least he did that in Dallas, but he's been removed. And Hooksy has also been removed with a 0.89 rating. Didn't help him lift the trophy in Dallas in terms of being there, but he was very vocal. We've heard this in other interviews. He's actually done it during the time where, like, he stayed awake. He was helping the team outside of practice, getting the Stewie ready, getting the team in the best spot possible to succeed. Now, I would have liked, if this is going to happen, the Nico to take over the IGL role. But people seem to think that maybe, no, it's not his time just yet. But he did okay at Dallas. Maybe I'm just a dreamer, you know. Nico played well, and IGL at Dallas. I personally would have been okay with seeing that. But that's not the case. So the first signing they did, it was announced quite a while ago, was Malbs. Now, Malbs is very, 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 very unproven on a tier 1 level. He's had some games since I spoke to him first, maybe in 2021, during COVID times. He was playing on South American teams back then. He speaks really good English, so he's having to do all the interviews, the poor guy, so I spoke to him a lot. But he's very talented. 1.32 rating, but I will say this. His stats are heavily boosted because he's playing in North America. He's not playing on tier 1. So there is a slight risk in if he'll be able to deliver this, but he did smash the hell out of G2 when he played him when he was on M80. I like what he brings to the team, but the problem we're going to have here is the role clashes, the position clashes. He's not an anger. He's going to have to sacrifice as well. But I'll come on to that later. Overall, I like the move personally to Malbs. I'd love to know what you guys think, because I think there can be some success had with this. I'm not going to be as harsh as a lot of other people have been critical on all of this, but I might be a bit harsher when it comes to the Snacks movement, because they brought in Snacks as the IGL. Snacks has not played for 5-6 years at a tier 1 level. If people try to tell me GamerLegion was tier 1, you are wrong. Tier long, wrong, one of those things, you are wrong. No, GamerLegion is not a tier 1 team. But Snacks didn't really move GamerLegion that much in a positive direction. Some wins here and there, some performances, but they had a lot of extra points because of how well they did at the major, so they were invited to a lot. Then it wasn't going to change too much. Now let me theory craft with you guys. Let me try and get you into my wild world, why I think this isn't too bad. The little bit of increase, so Hooksy 0.89, Snacks 1.01, but Snacks playing against worse opposition. It's an IGL. I don't really care about that stat. What I care about is Snacks working with Taz. They've played together. They know each other. Snacks is not scared of anyone. He will fight. He will go in. He will do whatever the team needs. But what I want for that G2 roster to do well is for him to say, okay, I will take more terrible roles. Like, I want to see, personally, Snacks and Hunter sacrifice so much, even if it hurts them, even if it's bad at the start. I've heard in the interview Darth Mike did that with Malbs, not long after signing, that Malbs will be playing some anchor roles. We're going to wait and see exactly how that's worked out. This is still early on in the team. But I would have preferred if both Hunter and Snacks play anchor roles as much as possible. Give Malbs as little as possible with that. Let Monte be the star. Then you've got Nico. Then you've got Malbs, and put them in the best positions to perform. That's a dream world. It's not always going to be the way it seems. But is this on paper a positive move? The Malbs one makes it questionable because of he's not played at the tier 1 level. Like on this level of team, been playing against this opposition, but I think he can deliver. I personally, this is my opinion, this is my personal thoughts. I think he can deliver. And then Snacks. Hooksy shouldn't have given any more time to play with this team. I agree with that. Hooksy should be the one that gets removed. There was a lot of things going on with that. The stuff we've heard in interviews as well around JKS as well, like how he was removed and what was going on within the team. Hooksy's had to deal with a lot, but he did leave G2 lifting 2 huge trophies. But with these moves, it's so hard to say anything. This could be a D move, or this could be an S tier move. And there's so much in it. So do you know what? I'm going to put it on a B tier. I'm going to sit it in the middle. It can be B tier alongside Furia and Monte. Because if they can perform, if they can come together, this has some good heights written on it. But it is so dependent on so many things that it can't be put into A tier. We don't still know about what Malbs can deliver. We don't have an idea of how Snacks is going to gel with the rest of the team. He's a very funny guy, very personal. He might bring the right mood and attitude, which is probably why Taz wanted him in there. But we'll just have to wait and see. And the last move I want to touch on is purely because I'm interested in the player they've added. It's GamerLegion. Now you might think, why GamerLegion? Not a tier 1 team. Definitely not a tier 1 team. But they sell Snacks. Maybe they sell Snacks. By the way, I don't know. I'm guessing they sold Snacks. You know, he was contracted something. They sold Snacks. Probably some good money from him from G2. And then you get ZTR. Now, I met ZTR years ago at the We Play Academy League when I was hosting the event. I was heavily involved in the We Play Academy League projects. It's one that's very close to my heart. I loved working on that. That was about the future of Counter-Strike. He was on the Young Ninjas at first, and they were looking to be one of the best teams in there. Then Mouse NXT said, ha ha ha, not happening. He got a chance on the main NIP roster, but we know how NIP in general has treated players, and it's not been looking so good for him. And players have said, no, I don't like this. It's not good for me. And yet he still had some success. I think at one time, even when Hampus was on the team, he was just calling on Overpass, if I'm right. But ZTR was pretty good. You know, he was able to hold his own. Then he went to Metisport, and Metisport, he was delivering far beyond what people expected. They got not many huge results, but they were consistently grinding. It was a full Swedish roster. I like what they were doing. I like where they were going. I like their coach a lot as well, Abdi. I felt like Metisport were doing very well, and ZTR had a lot to do with that. You know, ZTR is still a young, super hungry coach, and then this offer falls on his lap. He's going to say yes. This is a chance for him to go another step up. GamerLegion, they'll be playing in Blast and stuff as well. There's opportunity here for him that his team wouldn't have been able to go through and qualify for as much, you know. In terms of a move, this sits on the kind of A-tier move for the future. And people were probably thinking he'll put another one in B. The reason I didn't put it in B tier is because if GamerLegion want to hold on to ZTR, they can build around him and build a team successful for him. I think that would be really, really smart. He is a player for the future. He is an IGL who's very hungry, very confident, can offer a team a lot. And there's some points of success that can be had here. And I think he's a player that can work very well going forward. This is. Let me just check his age as well. I want to make sure I say this right. Checking his age. 20 years old. Yeah, 20 years old. He's got Volt, Slend, Andu, Flammers, some other young players around him. Volt, maybe the most experienced player on that roster right now. Let him build, let him cook a little bit with this. Let him have some chances. Let's see how he can do. But I can't say, like, he was in a B-tier move, because I still think this is an upgrade from Snacks. I still think this is a big upgrade from Snacks, despite Snacks' legacy in there. So GamerLegion might have come out on top, at least in my opinion. Let me know what you think, guys. I hope you enjoyed my first bit of content here on SkinClub. We've got so much more coming for you as well. Stay tuned. Enjoy yourselves. Bet responsibly. And let's get some wins.